Coming in at number 5 is Big Ben Roethlisberger of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had a great season. He finished the fantasy season with 295 fantasy points in ESPN standard leagues. He had the best season of his career, 4,952 passing yards, 32 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions. That made him 7th in NFL in touchdown, 3rd in completion percentage, 1st in yards, and 3rd in passer rating. Big Ben Roethlisberger was probably drafted outside the top 10 rounds and was used as a quarterback 2 in most ESPN standard leagues. But he really took the fantasy scene by storm when he had 2 6-touchdown games back-to-back. Big Ben's success as a top 5 fantasy quarterback was because of his dynamic offense and Pittsburgh Steelers offense. Antonio Brown solidified himself as the #1 fantasy wide receiver, and Marcus Wheaton really came into his own as a big red zone target by the end of the season. And Le'Veon Bell all year was a dynamic pass catcher out of the backfield. I expect Big Ben Roethlisberger to continue success into next year. The captain, Peyton Manning, coming in at number 4. Even though he struggled at the end of the season and in the playoffs, he still came with 305 fantasy points and had a great fantasy season. He had 4,727 passing yards, 39 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions. The reason Peyton Manning played so bad, I believe, was that quad tear in his thigh. He still plays for one of the best offenses, still has dynamic weapons in Wes Welker, C.J. Anderson, Julius Thomas, and Demaryius Thomas. I believe if you guys stick with Peyton Manning, and if he comes back, I believe he will be a top quarterback next year. Coming in at number 3, Russell Wilson of the Seattle Seahawks. He had 20 touchdowns, 475 yards, and 7 interceptions. And on the ground, he had 850 yards, 6 touchdowns, and he had 312 fantasy points in ESPN standard leagues. What makes him so good in fantasy is the dual threat of the passing and rushing. If he stays in Seattle with Marshawn Lynch and the Seattle group, I think he can put on numbers just like he did this year. Don't sleep on Russell Wilson because he was projected as outside of top 7 quarterbacks and became a top 3. Russell Wilson coming in at number 3. Number 1 overall pick of the 2012 draft comes in at number 2, Andrew Luck of the Indianapolis Colts. He had 336 overall fantasy points and he averaged 21 a game in ESPN standard leagues. Luck grew as a passer by cutting his interception total in half while increasing his completion percentage, despite the fact injuries depleted the team's receiving options for most of the year. He has shown durability in starting every game for the Colts since joining the league, also being smart and effective runner when forced out of the pocket. He had 40 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, and rushing he had 263 yards and 3 touchdowns. While in the passing game he had 4,761 yards. I believe Luck is one of the best talents in our league, and I expect this year in, year out until he retires. Coming in at number 1, we have Aaron Rodgers, the NFL MVP, Mr. Discount Double Tech, Mr. Do-It-All. He finished this season with 4,381 passing yards, 38 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions, also on the ground and ran for 269 yards and 2 touchdowns. RELAX. Aaron Rodgers finished as our number 1 quarterback with 342 fantasy points and 21 a game. Boy, that will win a lot of fantasy games in ESPN standard leagues. I expect this year in, year out from Aaron Rodgers, as he has Eddie Lacy catching balls out of the backfield, a number 1 wide receiver in Jordan Nelson, and Randall Cobb making plays all over the field. Aaron Rodgers is our number 1 fantasy quarterback.